Hello!
Hello and welcome
To this very special edition of
Factoraly.
So why is it special, Simon?
It's special, Bruce, because obviously it's not whilst we're recording this, but by the time people will be listening to this, it will be 2024. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Oh, I know that one. That's Trading Places, isn't it?
Yes.
Merry New Year.
I am from Sweden.
But you're wearing lederhosen, my dear. If anyone doesn't know what we're talking about...
you haven't been celebrating Christmas properly.
Indeed. So for the uninitiated, this is Factoraly. I'm Simon Wells.
I'm Bruce Fielding.
We're a couple of voiceover artists who love random facts.
Oh, yes, we do.
We get together now and then and we spew our cluttered brains full of knowledge about a particular topic, whatever that topic may be. This week it happens to be New Year's traditions and the like.
Yes. I'll tell you where it's a good place to start is
Where?
Back about 35 years ago. I was living the furthest south in London I've ever lived, which is basically just the other side of Battersea Park, which is on the Thames. So
Yes.
literally there was my flat, a park, and then the river. So that's the most furthest south I've ever lived.
I learnt to ride a bicycle in Battersea Park.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. And everybody was getting ready to go out for their New Year's Eve parties. Suddenly there was this massive fall of snow.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
properly massive. It brought everything to a complete standstill.
Huh.
And everybody was stuck in their flats in the block
Yeah.
going, I can't get to the party. I've bought drink, I've got cakes, I've got all sorts of things. What do I do? And I don't think it was me. I'd like to think it was me, but I don't think it was. I said, I tell you what, why don't all of us who can't now go out have one New Year's Eve party in one of the flats, which
Yes.
happens to be ours. And we'll all bring everything that we'd bought to take to other New Year's Eve parties. So we did. And we started to have a few drinks and some cake and whatever else there was to eat, some of which we'll find out later.
Good.
And these people were not all from England.
Mm-hmm.
So they were saying, well, we have a tradition in our country that we do this at New Year's Eve.
Right.
So we did all of them.
Oh, really? That's fantastic.
So we had people from Spain, people from America, South America, India, all sorts of places in the world.
Yeah.
And they all did what they would normally do on their New Year's Eve. So I kind of learned a
sounds
lot.
Wonderful.
It was fantastic. And a lot of what they did on that day is what we're going to be talking about today.
Oh, well, that's a fantastic place to start. I was thinking, why on earth are we starting only 35 years ago? Surely it goes back further than that. But
How much further back does it start?
one of the earliest records of actually having it written down that there was a specific celebration to usher in the new year was around 2000 BC in Babylonia.
Oh, right.
So quite a long time ago.
By the rivers of Babylonia.
Indeed. And their year began, so different traditions, different cultures, different parts of the world have different starting days for their new year, obviously. In Babylonia, their new year began with the first new moon that was the nearest to the autumn equinox.
Okay.
So roughly around mid-September. The ancient Egyptians and Persians, their new year started on the autumn equinox itself, not the first new moon after that. The ancient Greeks, their new year started on the winter solstice in December.
I think that autumn New Year is also Jewish New Year, isn't it?
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's
Okay.
It's that time of year.
Yeah. A lot of cultures have their new year following the sun. So, we here in the West, we count 365 and a quarter-ish days of the Earth going around the sun, and that's where your year starts. Other cultures go by the moon, so the X number of revolutions of the moon around the world rather than the world around the sun, which is why places like China celebrate the lunar New Year rather than the solar New Year.
Yes.
So everyone does it on a different day at a different time and in very, very different ways. But in one form or another, it goes back at least 4,000 years.
Okay, so how about the January the 1st New Year, which is the one that we all sort of mostly celebrate?
Yeah, sure. So this gets messy, Bruce.
Sorry.
That's fine. So back in the original Roman Republic calendar, New Year's Day was always March the 1st.
Why?
I don't actually know if any of our listeners know the answer.
Oh, yes. You're obviously subscribing and liking and stuff, but you can also comment.
Comment away.
Yes.
If one of you knows absolutely with total certainty, this is why it was March the 1st, and I've missed this out, please let me know for my own sanity. So it was March the 1st, and then later in medieval times in Europe, it was celebrated on March 25th, which was the Festival of Annunciation in the church calendar. Later on, it was moved to Christmas Day itself. William the Conqueror came along and moved it to the 1st of January, and then it reverted back to March 25th. Then we adopted the Julian calendar, which was set up in the 1500s, and that moved it to January 1st. And it flip-flopped back and forth an awful lot. But officially, in this country, it has been January 1st since 1752, which was the day upon which the UK moved to the Julian calendar, which the rest of the Catholic world had for the previous 200 years. We were a little bit slow on the uptake.
So we have Julius Caesar to thank.
We do, yes.
And naming January after Janus as well, with the two faces, right. Like the one face looking out to the old year and one face looking forward to the new year, all that stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
So it makes complete sense.
Yeah. And that's kind of where the idea of resolutions and traditions and things like that come from. A lot of New Year's resolutions come from various religious cultures of sort of wanting to appease the gods, in a sense, thanking the gods for a good year that's just gone and asking them to bring in an equally good year in the year coming.
Oh, it's also a protest as well, because especially, one of them that I guess we're going to have to talk about is how the Scots do it.
But I expect so.
But the Scots do it mostly because Christmas was banned.
Oh.
Under the tyranny of the Protestantism of basically you mustn't be enjoying yourself at any given time. Do I mean Protestantism if it's Scottish?
Puritanism.
Well, yes, that sort of thing. Basically, don't enjoy yourself.
Yes.
But that's why the Scots went, well, sod you then. We're going to have a really good party and we're going to have it pretty close to Christmas on New Year's Day.
Oh, I see. Oh, I hadn't realised that connection.
Yeah.
Brilliant. We can't celebrate Christmas, but we're jolly well going to do New Year's.
Yeah, and the church can do nothing about it because it's not a religious festival.
Yes. So that's where Hogmanay comes in, isn't it? Hogmanay is the day before New Year's Day, I think.
Yes, and nobody knows why it's called Hogmanay. It could be anything. It could be Gaelic. It could be all sorts. That's as far as I know, unless you know differently, Simon.
I don't, unfortunately, no. No. Again, dear listeners, there's got to be a Scottish listener who knows the answer to that.
So what sort of things happen on Hogmanay? As a tall, dark-haired man, you should know this.
Yeah, I do, yes. Brilliant. I was really impressed when I read this. So, again, that idea of how you start the new year is how you mean to go on. In Scots tradition, they have something called first footing. And the idea of this is that the first person who sets foot over the threshold of your house after the stroke of midnight on New Year's Day, the sort of person that is will set the fortune of your household for the coming year. So if you get a mean, stingy, grumpy, cantankerous person as the first person through your door on New Year's, you're going to be in for a bit of a harsh year. But ideally, so they say, the best person to be the first footer on New Year's Day should be a tall, dark-haired gentleman, i.e. yours truly. And traditionally, if that person brings pieces of coal, shortbread, some salt, a black bun, and a bottle of whiskey with them, then, goodness me, you're going to have a fantastic New Year.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm open for hire, anyone. If you feel the need to reenact this, I'm here.
I don't know. Does grey count? Because I used to be a dark-haired chap, and I'm sort of greyish a bit now.
I'm sure there's a perfectly acceptable caveat for that. Ex-dark-haired gentleman.
Man. Yes, yeah. Yes, maybe. They celebrate Hogmanay in all sorts of unusual ways. I mean, apart from this first footing of the dark-haired bloke walking through your door, they in Stonehaven. They have this parade through the town of people wielding fireballs on the ends of chains.
Oh,
there's about 40 people, and they basically got these metal cages that they fill full of like newspaper and flammable stuff, and they whirl them around.
Yeah,
on the parade through the town to the river.
Right.
And then when they get to the river, they throw the fireballs into the river, and that's basically a way of scaring away all the evil spirits.
Yeah.
Which is something we'll probably come along to in a bit as well. There's lots of different ways of scaring away the evil spirits, so you start your year with a really positive attitude.
Yes.
But like 40 Scottish blokes whirling bits of fire around in the middle of town.
I mean, that would scare me off, let alone any evil spirits. Crikey.
On New Year's Day, they have a thing called the boar game in Kirkwall. And they have the uppies and the doonies, depending on whereabouts in the place you live.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And they basically divide the town up into half each.
Yeah.
And they basically play a ball game where you kind of like pass the ball until and like it's basically an entire town having a fight.
Oh, that's brilliant, isn't it? What could be more New Year's-y than that?
Yeah, exactly. Before we move further afield, there's a song that goes with this.
Just going to suggest that we brought that up before leaving Scotland, yes.
Yes.
There is a certain ditty, isn't there, which, some people may have heard of.
That isn't by Robbie Burns.
No, it's not by Robbie Burns. So the song in question is Auld Lang Syne.
Yeah.
Unless you're thinking of another one.
Nope, that was the one.
That's good. It's that one. So Auld Lang Syne, sung at every single New Year's party in the Western world since a few hundred years ago. Often accredited to Robert Burns in 1788. I believe that was the first time it was sort of written down in official manuscript.
Yes.
But it was based, largely based on a previous folk song by a fellow called James Watson of 1711, so quite a while back. The first verse and the chorus bear a striking similarity to Auld Lang Syne, but then Mr. Burns came along and added a few extra chunks to it and refined it. And
10 verses. Do you know all 10 verses?
I don't even know the first one, Bruce. Do you know all 10 verses?
I know probably a couple of them. Yeah,
That's brilliant.
But it didn't have any music to go with it, obviously, to start with.
Yeah, sure. So it wasn't set to music until 1799, so 11 years after its first publishing by Burns. So yes, originally it was just a spoken, written poem. And Auld Lang Syne, the title, precisely translates as Old Long Since, which roughly translates as Days Gone By, or The Olden Times, or something like that.
Yes.
So it's sort of an opportunity to look back over what's gone by, what we've missed, what we've achieved, and hopes for the future.
And then it became really popular, especially in America, in about 1920.
Okay.
There was a band leader called Guy Lombardo.
Right.
Who was one of the people on radio doing the New Year's celebration. And after the countdown and the bells and everything, he played it in his 1920 New Year's Eve broadcast.
Right, okay.
And it became very popular after that. And then the radio station did it every single year after that. And it just became part of that American thing. But I think it had been part of Hogmanay for quite some time before that anyway.
Yeah. And now you just associate it with large groups of people sort of crossing their arms over and holding hands with the person next to them and shaking hands in time to the song, which, after a New Year's Eve full of alcohol and whatever other mischief has gone on, can sometimes become a little bit clumsy.
Raucous.
Raucous, that's the word.
Good word, raucous.
Yes.
Okay, so vegetables.
Okay.
Vegetables are quite important, aren't they? New Year's.
Yeah.
Isn't there one to do with cabbage somewhere?
Yes, that's right. So various parts of Europe, which kind of makes sense. Cabbage is a big thing in Germany. Coleslaw comes from Poland, I think. Koolsalad, cabbage salad.
Yeah.
So there's an abundance of this stuff. But yes, in Eastern Europe, if you eat a cabbage-based dish anywhere around New Year's, then it's meant to be good luck. Again, we'll say it time and time again. Start the new year as you mean to go on.
Yeah.
Another foodstuff that's regularly eaten at New Year's. I had never heard of this until I came to research this episode. In America, it's apparently tradition to eat black-eyed peas as a New Year's dish. And apparently this goes back to the Civil War, that as the armies from the north were sort of sweeping through the south and taking everything that they could, they took all the food in order to feed the troops as they were going. What they left behind was a load of black-eyed peas, which were at the time considered only good enough for feeding animals, so the soldiers didn't eat them. So after the troops had gone through, all that was left were these black-eyed peas, and therefore that's kind of what the Southerners on the receiving end of this would eat, and they considered themselves lucky that the black-eyed peas were left behind, and so that sort of became a lucky foodstuff.
Interesting, because in Chile they eat lentils.
Oh, do they?
So a similar kind of idea. Although in Chile, I think you're supposed to eat 365 lentils.
Gosh, imagine picking those out. They're quite fiddly little things, aren't they?
There's lots of other foods that you can eat at New Year's. The one that I enjoyed most was the Spanish. And the idea in Spain is that you celebrate each month of the New Year coming up by eating a grape on each of the chimes of the bell that chimes 12. So you eat 12 grapes.
Okay. In the Philippines, they take that a step further and they go for 12 round fruits of any type.
Are there 12 round fruits?
Oh, let's see if we can get some. Right.
Okay, in turn.
You started with grapes.
Grapes.
So that's already there. Cherries.
Yeah. Apples.
Oranges.
Mandarins.
Peaches.
Plums.
Grapefruit.
I'm trying to think. Pomegranate.
Melon. 2 left. Come on.
Oh, there must be 2 left.
My brain's gone blank. Circular fruit. Come on. Apricots.
Oh, yes. Okay. Figs.
That'll do.
Yeah.
There you go. So there's at least 12 round fruits. In the Philippines, apparently, circular things symbolize prosperity, wholeness, completeness. So if you eat 12 round fruits, again, 1 for each month of the year, that's 12 months of ensuing prosperity and health.
That makes sense. But the idea of round things, in Singapore, they came up with this like promotion, if you like, where they had a load of like writable balls, these large white balls, and you would write a message of a wish that you had for the new year of good luck. Okay. And on New Year's Eve, that people would release these white balls into the river that flows through Singapore, and they would sort of like be carried out to sea, and then sort of on their way to wherever wishes are granted.
Oh, lovely.
And it started off as like quite a nice small thing. Not so much these days.
Okay.
They started off with like a few hundred. Last year there were 10,000. And then when I say they're reasonable sized balls, they're probably about the size of what are the balls called that you jump up and down on?
Oh, space hoppers?
They're all about the size of a space hopper.
Goodness me. Okay, I was picturing something about the size of a tennis ball.
Yeah, no, they're about the size. The 10,000 space hoppers. Imagine 10,000 white space hoppers with wishes written on them, going down a river.
Oh man, what a sight that must be!
Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't I put a video link in the show notes in the blog?
Very good.
So then you can see what we're talking about.
Very nice indeed. Yes, that's the one limitation of an audio podcast. You can't see what we're talking about. But go to factoraly.com.
Where was that?
But that was factoraly.com.
Okay, yeah, got it.
Factoraly.com.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah. That's where people can get a visual glimpse into our minds. Now, you just mentioned wishing spheres floating down the river and out into the sea. There are quite a few places where the sea is involved in New Year's celebrations. Obviously, it helps if you're near the sea because that's going to be a large feature of your culture anyway. But I found a lovely tradition in Brazil where on New Year's Day, people dress in white clothes to sort of symbolize purity and virtue. And they gather down by the ocean and they give offerings to the ocean goddess Yemanja. They put offerings into a small boat and they push the boat out into the ocean. And couples hold hands and they stand in the water and they jump over the waves. And as each wave comes into the shore, they jump over the wave and they say thank you for something good that happened in the previous year. And then once they've finished their Thanksgiving, they turn around, they put their back to the ocean, and they walk back onto the land as a symbol of embarking upon the new year.
How
which
lovely.
I think sounds lovely.
I'd like to do that. So you've heard of the ball drop?
Yes, I've heard of the ball drop in Times Square.
So when the New York Times decided to move from its very posh location to a not quite as salubrious a place, which was Times Square, it was all a bit rough. All the other newspapers thought, they're moving out to the boondocks. It's miles away. They're never going to get the newspapers to the people in time.
Right, okay.
Because, it needs to be there for the morning. It needs to be there when people are going to work. What they didn't figure was that the building that they built and moved into was actually on the new underground system.
Oh, is that right?
And it literally had access straight from the printing works underneath the New York Times building into the tunnels. And they could get their newspapers into the middle of New York faster than any other newspaper.
Oh, that is smart,
which
isn't
is
it?
very clever.
I didn't know that.
Very clever. And to celebrate this, they thought, we'll have a fireworks display. So they had a fireworks display back in 1905 when they first moved there. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't very good because basically all this soot and ash and burning pieces of paper were all raining down on the people that came to celebrate.
That's really not what you want your lasting image to be as a newspaper company, is it? Burning paper.
Exactly. So they thought, well, how else can we do this? I know. You know that thing they do at Greenwich?
Yes.
Why don't we just copy that? So Greenwich has a red ball that falls at midday, and they thought, we'll do it at midnight. And so they built a ball which was made of iron, and it's about 1.5 meters in circumference in diameter, and it was lit by 125 watt bulbs.
Okay,
and so you could see it,
right?
And it was really, really pretty, and it was nice, and lots of people came, and then more and more people came, and to the point at which nowadays they have to limit that it's a ticketed event. And I think one year they had something like 300,000 people in Times Square.
Really?
And they've had to limit it now to, I think, 188,000.
It's not the biggest square in the world, is it?
No, it isn't. Even 188,000 people is quite a lot. The newest ball, the 7th ball they have now, it's more than double the size. It's 3.7 meters. It's 12 feet wide. It's lit by 32,000 LEDs. And it weighs about 6 tons.
Good grief.
Yeah. Oh, there's also 2,600 Waterford crystal triangles in it as well.
Oh, of course there are.
Yeah.
That's standard. I'd expect that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
And it's raised at 6:00 in the evening, very slowly. And then it falls at the first stroke of midnight. And it's always preceded by somebody singing Imagine.
By John Lennon?
John Lennon. Yeah.
Oh.
So loads of famous people have sung Imagine for the Times Square ball drop.
Wow.
Anyway, so at that point, everything stops, and then suddenly there's that bong, the ball drops, confetti is released, 1.4 tons.
It's a lot of confetti. Wow.
And it's thrown by 100 people. They call them dispersal engineers, confetti dispersal engineers. There's about 190 people involved in the cleanup because obviously, you want to get Times Square cleaned and ready for business the following day.
Yes.
Takes about 8 hours.
Whoa.
190 people. And last year they reckon they got about 50 tons of refuse.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, that must include champagne bottles, I guess.
Yeah.
And as well as the 1.4 tons of confetti.
That's impressive.
Isn't that great?
I mean, it's terrible, but it's great.
Obviously, there are a lot of very flash costumes that are worn, and clothing is something else that you can differentiate the New Year's Eve, New Year's Day party by.
Yes.
I don't know about you. My attire of choice on New Year's Day is to go for a walk on Richmond Park, dressed in a kilt.
Okay. Wouldn't have expected that.
Well, I used to play bagpipes, and I used to play bagpipes. Sorry.
Every episode, I learn something new about you, Bruce.
So yeah, I was mostly using them on January the 25th, Burns Night, and New Year's Eve. And I thought, well, if I'm only playing them twice a year, it's hardly worth the bother of keeping the practice up. So I stopped, but I still maintain the kilt,
well done,
which is now slightly moth-eaten, but that's the way they're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, it occasionally shrinks in the wardrobe over the winter.
Oh, that's odd.
I don't understand why that works, but
Fine.
I put it away in the winter and then leave it for the summer, and then during the summer it somehow it gets smaller. I don't know.
Miraculous.
Yeah,
that's strange, isn't it?
And then get it out and go for a walk. But that's not the only New Year's Eve, New Year's Day clothing that is of interest around the world, apart from Bruce's kilt.
I think that would be the most of interest, but do tell. What other items of clothing are used around the world?
Well, it kind of goes from, in Romania they dress in fur and they dance in the streets, but one of the things I discovered, there is lucky underwear.
Yes,
I think it comes from China.
Okay.
But they like assign different things to different coloured underwear, and you can actually buy paper underwear in all these different colours and just decide which colour you want to wear for New Year's.
Oh, wonderful.
So if you're into like love and passion, then you wear red. If you're into, you want some more money, you wear yellow pants.
Right. Okay.
Blue underpants for health.
Right.
White because you can, but although they say for peace and harmony.
Okay.
Black, because most of mine are black, for power and focus. Purple for creativity. Green for freedom and nature. Pink for platonic love. And orange for professional success.
Wow. So you could sort of have a rainbow pair of pants that would bring you all of those things at once.
Yes, you could. Or some sort of like candy stripe.
Yes. Yes. Now, I often like to look into the Guinness Book of Records on this show. I've mentioned it a number of times before. The problem with looking at an official record for anything that happens on New Year's is that the very following year, someone is inevitably going to outdo it. At the moment, Dubai holds the record for the highest number of fireworks used in a single display.
Okay.
And the largest number of drones, because that's a thing now, isn't it?
Yes, of course.
Fireworks displays
making patterns with drones.
Exactly, yeah, patterns and sort of pictures of moving animals and things, or writing out messages across the sky. And in Rio, they currently hold the record for the largest number of people to gather for a New Year's celebration. 2 million people gathered on the beaches in Rio a couple of years ago for New Year's celebrations, and they currently hold the record for that.
Wow.
Yeah. But all the other records, every year someone else is going to try and outdo it, so they don't last very long.
I've got a record for, admittedly, it's only 1,914 people, but they were all dancing at a ceilidh.
Oh, wonderful!
And they were all they were all doing Strip the Willow, which is
I don't know what that is.
Which I can do, obviously. This is a Scottish pipe dance thing. So Stripping the Willow, 1,914 people all doing it simultaneously.
That is a lot of people.
And it's quite a violent thing that involves swinging people around.
Okay.
and a bit of running about and stuff. So yeah, it would be quite a thing to watch. I've got no more facts about New Year's. Have you got any more?
No, I am all spent.
Well, in that case, shall we sing Old... No, let's not sing Old Lang
Don't want to inflict that on our dear listeners, do we? I say that. You've got a lovely singing voice, so it wouldn't be an infliction at all.
Thank you. So, I guess we need to wish everybody a prosperous...
and happy...
and healthy New Year for 2024.
Indeed. Thank you all for listening. We hope that the next year will bring you just as many interesting facts and wonderful episodes of this show as you can handle.
Yeah, would you realise that we'll probably have about 70 by next year?
What, listeners? Oh, episodes, right. Yeah.
Episodes, yeah.
Right, thank you all for listening. See you next time. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.